I'm Danny, and this is the Scream Princess podcast. Hello there, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of the Scream Princess podcast. I'm Danny, and I'm here today with two of my friends, Ian Taylor and Andrew Llewellyn, both authors, amongst other things, all sorts of things going on. How are you guys?
Very well, thank you.
Yeah,
Spinning plates as ever.
Spinning plates
not
as ever.
Yeah.
not too bad at all, to be quite frank. Yeah, really, really good. Things have been great lately. Yeah.
Good. I've actually, I've got people, if you hear any noise, I've had people working in the garden today. So you've actually inspired me, Andrew, because you keep showing pictures of your garden. And I'm like,
Mm.
I moved in last year and we renovated inside, but the garden like, was a small kind of courtyard garden and it was all uneven, concrete, and just horrific. So I've had it
All the
leveled
slabs,
today.
all the slabs are wonky, were they?
It wasn't even slabs. It was like there was an old, like the coal chute has been knocked out and they built something else on top of that. And then there might have been an old outdoor toilet that's been knocked out and they built on top of that. So it was just a bit of a mess. So
Dead
I've had
body.
next door's cat's been pooping in there for I think about the last 3 years until I moved in, and it's
Nice,
still
nice.
consistently is pooping in there every day. So I've bought some spikes to go on the fence, not like skewer ones. I don't want to hurt the cat. I don't want to maim it. I just want it to fuck off, basically.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
so.
the best thing to get rid of cats is to hang CDs. Apparently, they
Mm.
hate reflections.
Oh, really?
So yeah, you hang a few CDs, like you just buy blank ones or whatever, and the
Okay.
reflective side of it, apparently, it really puts cats off.
I honestly don't
Yeah.
think this one would care. This cat, like, it was pooping in the shed. So I went down after the winter. The shed didn't have a door. It now has a door as of today. And there was a pile in there. It was in the planter. The planter's been knocked out. And then it just goes on the concrete. It just doesn't care.
Mm.
It's like, I'm going to go here. I've put chili powder down, vinegar. I've put like those pellets they're not meant to like the smell of. It doesn't care.
Mm.
Well,
Yeah.
try CDs, but not blank ones. Try something like New Kids on the Block. That might do it.
I'd stay
Or,
away if
or
you're
Coldplay.
playing that.
Coldplay CDs are good. I heard as well.
What's
Just chuck
that?
them out the garden. Coldplay. Use your Coldplay CDs.
Oh God, that would depress the cat, and it would be like, I'm
Yeah,
not coming back there. That's a
that
Yeah.
very
would work.
melancholy. That's
That
a
would.
melancholy garden.
Chris Martin always sounds like he's crying into a big bean tin.
I liked
I
one
don't,
of their songs. I think it was like a later song that they did when they kind of did a little
yeah.
comeback, and I liked one song. But generally, I'm quite a happy person, and they even
Yeah.
depress me.
The
Mm.
more recent music has been more positive, to be fair. But
Yeah,
the earlier stuff was a little bit kind of maudlin, wasn't it? It's
it
like, oh my
was.
God.
I'm all
I
about
reckon.
positivity, happy
Mm.
music. You know,
Exactly.
I want
Yeah,
fun. We're
Well,
going to talk about music because you both have like various degrees of things going
yes.
on in the music
very
world.
much. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, we do.
Indeed.
But we actually met at the Festival of Fantastic Films. Now, when was that? Was that 2020 something? Was it? It was after lockdown, wasn't it? It was
It
like,
was, yeah, it was
I was,
2023. Actually, I'd met you twice before that. You just kept forgetting.
oh, yes.
Mm.
You
I'm
bring this up every
thinking,
And you
time
know
I
what?
see you.
is it
Yeah, you've done it again.
2021, 2022? I'm not sure.
2022 sound.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
And the last few years have been kind of crazy for me. So everything's kind of been in a blur because I did that. I was still living in London at the time because I know I got driven up. It was after lockdown because
mm,
oh, I don't know that we couldn't get a train or something. So actually, we had a driver. So I drove up with Judy Matheson. We shared
yeah.
a car.
Well, that's
Um,
it.
so yeah, it must have been about 2022 because then I moved up here in 2023.
Uh,
So
You said, yeah?
yeah, that must be what it was.
You nearly came to watch one of my gigs, but you,
Yeah,
but you didn't know in time, did you? I think it was a Black Bull,
where was that?
um,
Is that in London or was that up here?
PHN.
And yeah,
PHN.
see, I'm not
Yeah.
far from it. Next time you are up this way, you have to let me know in advance, and
Yeah.
then I can
Yeah.
come. I can come along. But the Festival of Fantastic Films, you guys have been going to, I think, for quite a while. I actually hadn't heard of it until I was asked to guest there. And it was like a really, really fun time. So it's over, was it like 3 days? And they show,
yeah.
a mix of kind of old classic films. I think they screened one of my films, but we all went out that night, so none of us
We went
watched
out
it.
instead.
We went out of a curry
Yeah,
instead, and
We
none of us watched it.
we went to the gay quarter of
that's
Manchester,
right.
didn't we?
We did, and we did, and we
Yeah.
didn't we have fun?
We
Yeah,
certainly
it's
did.
right.
We
And I
certainly did.
and
Because
wasn't it like wasn't it
Simon
it was
was
over
there.
Halloween weekend. It wasn't over
Yeah,
Halloween, but it was like the weekend that was closest to Halloween. So that's the weekend
Yeah.
obviously that everybody goes out. And bearing in mind, we'd all been at a horror festival, but none of us had really thought about Halloween. So none of us were in
Yeah.
costume or anything. We weren't like, right, this
no,
is our Halloween night out. So we'd all gone out like very normally, and literally everybody else was in kind of horror costumes. Then we ended up in a drag queen bar, and I think there's a picture of me with a drag queen Dorothy from The Wizard of
Yeah.
Oz, and then we went off
yeah.
and did some karaoke.
And
Yes,
I
you did.
got
You
I got
did.
serenaded by Celine Dion.
Oh God, I remember her. She was really
Yeah,
good. I mean, I'm not really a Celine Dion fan, but
no,
she was a really good Celine copy, wasn't
Yeah.
she?
And you sang the Divinals, I Touched Myself.
I did. That's my go-to. That's my
And I
go-to
sang Life
karaoke
on
song.
Mars. And I sang Life on Mars with David
Yeah,
Bowie. Yeah,
yeah.
it was really good. It was really good. I
Fun
enjoyed it.
times, fun
But I
times.
lost my phone that night
Well,
and I panicked.
how we all were fresh the next day, I don't know.
No,
well,
well,
who knows?
I
you
don't know if
need
I did
to.
necessarily feel fresh the next day. I think Judy came knocking for me. She's like, "Get up, come on." I was like, "Oh."
She wasn't being bossy, was she?
Not
Shall I tell
Judy,
you?
no.
No, no, no,
Not
Shall I tell you
Judy.
no.
how I first got into contact with Judy ever was with
Yeah.
this. He's a shameless plug. Okay, this is We Belong Dead magazine,
All right.
right? And I did an article in this on the Constantine trilogy, which is
Okay.
the three films, Vampire Lovers, Lust for a Vampire, and Twins of Evil.
I
And
think we have two of them on the shelf. I
yeah,
haven't seen them.
it ain't
Mm,
Um,
it anyway.
but
Right, there's the article, okay? And I wrote that. It's called Night Fiends of
okay.
Styria.
yeah.
And
I'm in there, mate. I'm in there.
of course you are. Of course you are. You've written, let me have a look what you've written. Let's have a look. Quick look now and remind myself. The Haunting.
Oh, there you
The
go.
Haunting,
Yeah.
the original
But,
Haunting. I don't think I've
Yeah.
seen the
Oh, yeah,
original.
definitely. Yeah.
See,
but I
I've
can tell.
I've always seen the remakes before the originals because I think like that when I started watching horror, all these remakes were coming out, and I was thinking they were
Mm,
like the originals, and they weren't. And then I kind of realized at a
Yeah,
later date that I have to kind of go back. So like House on the Haunted Hill, I watched backwards. Fright Night, I watched backwards. Even Friday the 13th and like Nightmare on Elm Street, I've watched the remakes before I've watched the originals.
but then
yeah,
some are all right, but the haunting isn't
No, I
yeah.
didn't
really.
mind it, but I probably
No.
need to watch the original again. I don't think no, I haven't
Yeah.
seen the original of that one. It's on the
What
list.
do you think? What do you think of the recent Halloween movies? You know, this last kind of three.
I like them.
I
I
I
like
do.
them.
don't love the originals either.
Oh, you. That's
Oh,
I
encouraged.
know. Do you know what it is though? And I get watching, I know most people love it, and I love a slasher movie. Like the slasher is my
Yeah,
favorite,
mm,
subgenre of horror. But I think with Halloween, I don't like the fact that Mike Myers is just like superhuman. He just can't be killed. He just keeps coming back. I like, my I like my murderers to be able to be killed, or I like them to
yeah,
be real, because then I feel like that's a bit more scary because it's a bit more, true to life. Like that could actually
yeah.
happen. But whereas
yeah.
he just keeps coming back. Like he's
But
unkillable. He's like
yeah,
super.
but then you just take the original as a standalone, and surely that
But
is just
even then, if I watch it, I think it hasn't got as much going on for me as maybe something like Scream. And I know Scream's got loads of nods to all of these old films as well. I
mm,
know there's a lot going
The,
on in
the
them, but
trouble, the,
I feel like
the
Scream
trouble.
had like bigger
Yeah,
characters. The characters had, like there was comedy in there as well. And it was also, it had a high budget. It was
yeah.
very glossy. But I feel
This
like
time,
Halloween, watching it, it's not that scary. And it's the girl running around getting, chased and
yeah,
like
I
died.
think the problem with Halloween for some people is the pacing is so very slow in it.
Mm,
It's a very, very slow burner.
yeah.
But I,
which is a yeah.
but I think when you're young and you see a film when you're younger, like I was when I first saw it, it makes an indelible impression on
Yeah,
you,
Yeah.
which
yeah.
maybe somebody else can't appreciate because they're from a different kind of generation, maybe, and
Hmm.
they're used to like the high octane thrills and
Yeah.
the really kind of the chop, chop, chop action and relentless action. Where
Mm.
Halloween with his steady cam kind of shots, and
Mm,
it's a very different kind of thing. It's a 70s movie,
yeah,
different aesthetics then. It wasn't the
yeah.
same.
And
But
that's
I
I
think,
exactly
think
it. Like I
yeah,
watched it like long after I'd watched. So I watched Scream in, what was it, like the early 90s when Scream, or
yeah,
early mid 90s when Scream came
mm,
out. And that was kind of that was kind of what got me into watching horror films and loving the slasher
yeah,
genre. But I watched
yeah.
Halloween way later, so I probably didn't watch Halloween
maybe not.
until kind
I
of the late
I think
noughties, really.
Yeah, I think the slow burn is an absolute
Mm,
bonus for me on that one. But
is it?
Yeah.
as Andrew says, I
Mm.
mean, I must have watched that when I was about 10 or 11 for the
Yeah.
first time,
Well,
when that kind of film wasn't
it
as
makes a
established.
big impact when you watch it when you're
Oh,
young.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's exactly it. It's like an album, a music album.
Mm,
Your favorite album by a specific artist will always be the
yeah.
first in your year, regardless whether it's the worst or the best, because
100%.
it's what hooked you in to begin with.
mm,
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is. I mean, I think that's the same with horror films as well. Like, I watch modern horror movies, and I actually get quite bored sometimes because there's too much going on. And
mm.
I'd rather
Yeah.
watch something from the 70s, like Fright, or you know, various different films, British horror
Mhm.
movies. And all right, they look a bit dated. I was watching Twisted Nerve the other day with Howell Bennett and Hayley Mills,
Yeah,
and the whistling theme was famously used in Kill Bill as part of Quentin Tarantino's soundtrack, where he borrows movie music from other things. But it's really quite a disturbing film for its time, really.
Mm.
And it's I don't not sure who directed it. It wasn't Hitchcock. He did
it was the
Friends.
Bolting brothers, mate.
Yeah, exactly. It's very similar in a way, in tone, to Frenzy, which is a Hitchcock film, which I
Mm.
also watched the same day. I just had to watch the two. For some reason, I grouped them together. I can't explain it because they both feature really psychotic characters. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
what's his name? The guy who's in is it
Barry Foster.
He's so depraved in that
Like you're in his
film.
head, you're answering, finishing his sentences for
He
him.
knows what we're
We
talking
like
about.
that. We like that.
We've got a symbiotic relationship in terms of horror film. There's
Yeah.
no
My brainwaves just travel in an instant at the speed of
Yeah.
exactly,
light over to Wales.
exactly,
Just boom,
I've got a
like
friend
that.
like that when I'm trying to describe something. I'm like, what's that film you told me to watch that time? It had a man in it, and he'll just tell me what it is, and that'd be
yeah.
all I've given him, and he knows exactly the
Yeah.
one I'm talking about. I
Oh,
don't
I'm a
yeah.
bit,
The
I'm a
one
bit
with the
like
man
that.
in it. Yeah.
the one with the man in it, and maybe there was a house, or maybe there wasn't a
Yeah,
house. I don't know,
yeah.
and he'll have the answer for me. He'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm a bit like that when people come on to me because they know into horror
Yeah.
and they say, I saw this film a few years ago and they'll explain it to me. And I can't always get it. Nine times out of 10, I know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'd
Yeah.
say, well,
Same.
this is what it is. And they
Well, the
go,
last
wow,
time he did that to me, it was a film called Landmine Goes Click.
right.
Which
Yes.
I remember when he told me to watch it, I was like, "Are you kidding? That sounds rubbish." And because,
Yeah,
but
can't
he
wait for
knows my
it.
taste, and he's like, "No, honestly, watch it." And I was like, I thought he was having me on, but I was like, "Okay, I'll watch it." And then it was actually really good. It was really good.
Yeah, it's
But
all
I can
right.
never remember. I
Absolutely.
can remember the name now, but loads of
Mm.
times I'm like, "What's that film again? That one you made me watch
Yeah.
that time with the man in it in the house."
Yeah. But
That was the one.
hey, going back briefly to Festival of Fantastic Films. By the way, I first met Judy the first time I went, and I think it was virtually the first time she'd done anything on the circuit,
Right.
going signing things and that,
Hmm.
which must have been, I think they were celebrating their 20th anniversary or something like that by reverting to the prices when it was first on,
Right.
which was what attracted me because it was cheap.
Hmm.
And I went there. But just one last thing to say about it before, because I'm sure we'll drift off even further, is the beautiful thing about that festival is how friendly and informal and relaxed it is.
Hmm.
And it is the fact that, like, one of your guests can say, am I going to watch my film? No, let's go for a curry.
Yeah.
Let's go for a drink.
Well, especially if
Yeah,
you're
Um,
putting my film on late, there's no chance of me staying awake through a
no,
film that's late. So I'm best off
exactly.
going out for a curry.
I
yeah,
even fell asleep. I even fell asleep watching a film sat next to David McGillivray. Um, and I poured my pint over my leg and everything, and I was just at right state. I was like, yeah,
mm,
I'm going to watch these films. I'll watch these films. No, I'm not going to. I'm just going to get slaughtered.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Well,
Do
this
you
is
remember the
it.
Because
time? Do you remember the time we got told off for talking?
Who told you off?
Oh, was that by no, don't tell me, right? This was
Yeah,
Uwe from
yeah,
Germany. Was it
not
Uwe
the
from Germany?
regular Uwe these days. The other Uwe.
Not Uwe Sammalad, he's sound. The other Uwe,
Yeah, yeah,
who was going a bit bananas over like conspiracy theories and things.
yeah.
And he just was like looking back at us and going,
Like schoolboys.
you
Yeah.
know, I
Well,
mean,
I think you have to
okay.
remember though, because like you come into it like, selling your books and although you are there
Mm,
for the films as well, you're also there kind of selling, but there are people who do come like solely to watch the films who are like kind of really serious about it. And I always forget like 'cause
mm,
when I go to horror on sea, I'm like that because I feel like horror on sea, everybody knows everybody pretty much.
Yeah.
And like if we're in films, we're probably chatting through them and like then there are people who want to watch the films and it's like be quiet and you're like, oh, sorry. Which is like kind of one of the reasons I tend never to sit through the films. I kind of
to be fair,
I just stay
to be
out of
fair,
it.
to be fair, I was watching Exquisite Cadaver with Judy
Yeah.
Matheson, right? And I would have been annoyed as well if somebody disturbed me because I was totally fixated on that film. And
Yes,
I do understand it,
yeah,
but when you've had a few too many, you have three sheets to win, sometimes you just kind of forget.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
But
Well,
what happened
then
when we were watching her film? Because I was sat next to her. Did it suddenly like did it go off or that it went
it
from
was a
English
poor
to French or something? And
it was a poor copy and
but
it
didn't the
wasn't in the right
language change?
frame.
Didn't it suddenly
Yeah.
yeah,
start playing in Spanish for a little while? And we were all like, and also we
yeah.
all
Well,
kind of
I think
numbed.
that's because they do that, don't they? Some DVD releases where that's the best soundtrack they've got. So they swap from one to the other and back again.
Yeah, but I'm
And
sure
Judy,
suddenly the film was in
yeah,
Spanish and we were all like, I don't know what's happening. And Judy was getting cross.
There's always problems at FOFF, right? Technical
it
issues. There's always something goes wrong, right? Somehow with the equipment, and it's just because it's not it's not run by what I'm not no disrespect to anybody. It's not run by proper technical experts. It's
Mm,
just like a labor of love, and
mm,
they're doing things really ad hoc and off the cuff, and it doesn't always work out. But luckily, everybody attends it, understands that, and
mm.
you don't get annoyed because they'll sort it out in a minute, and they usually do.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean,
yeah.
it's
so
a really good
you,
festival and they have some really good guests. And
Mhm.
it's like, it's
well,
nice it's over the 3 days and, people generally
yeah,
all staying in the same hotel. So you can go out on an evening and find
yeah.
yourselves in Manchester's
Oh, it's great.
This
gay
this year,
quarter, which was great.
this year's got a great lineup as far as I'm concerned.
Who have they got
Right,
this
Yeah, it
year?
does.
it's got Dominic Brent and his wife, right?
Oh, lovely.
Um,
Dominic's lovely.
it's got Virginia Weatherall who's in things like let me think now. A couple of Hammer films.
Mm.
What's the one? Curse of Crimson Altar.
I'm not saying
Very,
anything now. I'll get accused of reading your mind. I'm keeping quiet.
very beautiful
Yeah.
back in the day, and I'm sure she still is. And I'm really looking forward to meeting her because I'm going to this one because I've just started a new job. I've just got to go down now in a couple of weeks and give them all the dates I don't want to work because my new job is very flexible. I can basically pick the hours I work and the days I work. It's really good. So I didn't have to book a holiday. And I could just say,
Maybe
don't
you'll make
rope
it to
me in.
Dark Fest this year.
Well, you never know, do you? Well,
You
that's
never
November, isn't it?
know. I feel like I'm
Uh,
about as far away from London now as I think I'm further away actually than what you are to London. So,
my problem with Dartford, if I'm traveling down to London from Manchester, I
uh-huh.
just like a little bit of time either side, so I'm not rushing.
Mm.
But
Mm.
being a school teacher, I can't
Yeah,
do that. And when it lands, it's like leave work, rush down,
it
finish
Yeah,
can
on
be done
Sunday,
though.
rush.
It can be done. I
Well,
actually, do you know
it
what I did
can be
last week?
done.
I went down for a Caroline Munro's Maggie's Little Helpers
mm,
event, and I got a train from Newcastle to London, and then I did the event and I got the train back all in the same day.
yeah, I've done it. I've
Yeah,
absolutely done it, but it's
it's not
wrecked me.
doing.
I mean, there was no alcohol involved, so it was easier getting the train back. It
There
wasn't,
you are.
That
it wasn't, it
Fine.
wasn't like a dark
that's
fest.
where I was going wrong. That's
That's where you're going
yeah,
wrong. That's where you're
yeah,
going wrong.
yeah. But at least Manchester, it's my neighbourhood, so it's just
Yeah,
a bus ride away. So that I'm
that's
sorted.
true.
There.
That's true. Well, I didn't do Dark Fest last year because I just moved. So I did the year before, and I'd moved up the year before, but I came back for Dark Fest. But last year, then I'd ended up in Scotland for a while, and then I was like back,
Yeah.
and then I finally got in here, and then I was just like, I'm not going to London again. So, but I will do this year.
Was it
I mean,
last year? Was it last year we were there, Ian? Watching,
year before, mate.
was it really? The
Just a
Living
year
Dead of
before.
the Morgue.
Yeah,
Yeah, was that? Yeah, it was the year before. So that was
it.
you were there that
I'm
year,
sure it
Dan?
was.
And I'd
It
met you
was, sorry.
twice before, Ian, so I'd met you at Dartfest.
Yeah,
Um,
And
you
I'm.
met me when we were both filming for Video Shop Tales of Terror,
right.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you remember
and
what the scene was? Was it Video Shop Tales of Terror 1 or 2?
it's the first one. I had
First
one
one.
scene as about barfly, and we weren't in any scenes together. Although one of your scenes, I'm on a poster on the wall behind you.
Ah, snuck
Yeah,
in there.
uh, snuck in. Yeah, so technically, I play two roles in that. Not as
And
Perfect.
then
many as you, but
Yeah, I played
the,
like a few roles in that one.
we got the
yeah,
party film, we got the party film Superstitions then, of course, down at Macbeth.
Yeah.
yeah.
Macbeth.
Oh,
Yes, but I didn't meet you on the shoot because I was in a different piece.
that's right. That was just there was just me and a couple of other guys that day. We went. I can't even remember where we filmed. A little theatre somewhere in the Midlands.
Yeah, somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
I love that
Um,
film. I can't wait to see that released and see
it,
how they kind of
yeah,
package
it's
it up.
great.
I really want to own that because there's so much going on in it, and
Yeah.
it's really beautiful. It's like kind of Victorian music box of imagery, if you understand what I'm saying.
It
It's
is.
just
It's like it's not like any other film that I've ever
no,
seen.
it's
No,
not
It's
totally
like a
different.
I don't know. It's kind of
but
magical, isn't it?
It
I
It's
is.
think
so well put
I
together. I
th
can't wait to see what he does next.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think anybody could
yeah,
watch that, whether they're specifically into genre stuff or not. They could
Mm,
watch it and get something of value out of it.
yeah. I just
definitely.
think
When
it's
it
like
does come out, I'd
so
recommend
different.
it. I'd recommend it to anybody I know to watch it, but
Yeah. Do you know, I had
maybe
Tom
not.
on here. And so I'm in a bit where I'm a vampire and then they turn me into a bat, but they did it like real old ham horror style where you can see the strings on the bat, which is so much fun. But then he was like, "Did you take the bat?" And I'm like, "No, I wouldn't
Started
steal the
Dracula.
bat. I didn't steal it." So apparently someone took the bat because the bat went missing, but I know it definitely wasn't
I
me.
don't have it.
I
I'm
don't
not.
have a bat.
They screened it at the Manchester Festival as well. That's where I saw it on the big screen,
Oh, did they? And you saw
and it
it
went
at
down well.
Great Yarmouth, Andrew.
I did indeed.
Yes,
Yeah, that was a good event.
yes.
And I stayed in a B&B just down the road from Selena.
Right.
Have you ever been to a house? It's amazing.
I haven't
It
been to
is.
her house, and
Oh,
Oh,
when I
crazy
go
God.
great.
back to Norfolk, she's like, pop round. But I tend to, when
You
I go
have
back to
to.
Norfolk, I tend to like do a day of like lingerie reviews with my friend, and have a couple of days with my mum, and then I like
Yeah,
come back. So I don't
yeah,
ever have that much time. I think next time I come to Norfolk, I might go to Great Yarmouth because I tend never to go there. I went to college in Great Yarmouth many moons ago.
Did
It's great.
you?
I studied fashion in Great Yarmouth for 4 years. So
Wow.
yeah, I've spent a
Oh,
lot of time there, but I tend not to ever go there now. I'm closer
yeah.
to Norwich when I go home.
Well, as a seaside town, it's kind of on the downturn a little, but I still find it quite charming.
Yeah,
And
it's nice.
the town itself is really nice. It's a nice,
Yeah.
there's a good
I
record shop
actually
there.
like a kind of oldie seaside town. Like they always
Mm,
need money spending on
Yeah,
them. They're always a bit like, disheveled,
yeah.
and you can always
It's a,
imagine
frayed
like,
around the edges.
back in the like 50s, this must have been like amazing or whatever, because it was
it's
obviously
faded glamour,
holiday
isn't it?
destinations.
There's a sense of faded glamour, which it can be quite
Yeah.
Yeah.
interesting.
I
Yeah.
Uh,
went to the first of Celine's do's there. If you
very
remember, Andrew, we were promoting the first book, and you
Yeah,
ended up not being able to make it.
that's right.
But I managed to persuade Lisa, my wife, and we'd all go down, take our daughter Tilly. It would have been about 7, I think, at the time,
She
and we'd
looks
make a
so grown
weekend.
up now.
God, doesn't
Frighteningly so, yeah.
Like
I
literally from
remember her.
since I met you, and now I'm like, oh
Yeah,
my God, that is a
I
big
know.
change.
I know,
it?
but I
The
remember
last
sitting
thing,
in Celine's front room where there's a big full-scale model of Boris Karloff as
Yeah.
the monster, and her just sat there telling Graham Humphreys, "Well, actually, it's Frankenstein's monster, not Frankenstein. Frankenstein is the man who made it." And Graham,
yeah.
although he must obviously know that, just being wonderful with her. They really, really got on very well together. It was lovely.
I
Excellent.
think her house looks like, because I said to her, is it like an Airbnb? It's like a themed Airbnb, but it's not, it's just a
Yeah.
house. It is
Yeah,
incredible. So yeah,
Peter
she did.
Fuller.
themed, all sorts of things going
I
on.
know she did
Pe-
say pop round when you
Peter
next
Fuller
time.
gave me a complete tour of the entire house.
Yeah.
every single room, and every single room's themed differently. Like there's kind of for Alice in Wonderland room is like
Yeah.
was
It's
like a kind
amazing.
of sci-fi room with the moon from the old silent movie where the moon's got a like a telescope on its eye. Is
Oh,
it
okay.
George Mary's, is it? I'm not
Yeah.
sure. But
Do,
yeah.
do you know there's that TV show and um it's like Amazing Homes
Yeah.
or something like that. And
Mm,
I think they were like, I don't know, 6 episodes and each episode featured a few people's homes and it's like what they'd done.
yeah.
I feel like hers could easily be on there.
Oh,
I'm surprised.
absolutely.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised it hasn't been already.
Hmm.
Yeah, you should
I
nominate
mean,
her. I think they're
I
bringing
must have
back
dreamt it.
another
I
series.
must have dreamt it because I thought it had been, but I must have dreamt that
I don't
because
know.
I do
Mm.
have some strange dreams.
I
I,
don't
I
know.
dream,
I
I
feel
dream
like
of
you feel
Martin
like it should
Tamari.
be, so maybe.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
it really should. Really should.
Yeah. So tell me about how you two ended up working together on books.
Well, who's
Well,
going to start? Me or you, Ian?
well, let me start by saying something. I mentioned this, I think, online on Facebook the other day. I don't know if you saw it, Andrew, but
We did.
I was writing for Eric McNaughton's We Belong Dead first. I think Andrew only a short while after. But what happened is he's such an enthusiastic fella. Very quickly, he kind of really leapfrogged what I was doing, and he had a book out, and he'd been to Dartfest, and he was networking with people, and it really gave me a kick up the ass. I thought, really, this is. I would not be doing anything at this stage. I wouldn't be doing anything at all to the extent I am, if not for people like Andrew, who had like basically given me a poke and said, this is what you could be doing. So hats
Yeah.
off to you, mate. Hats
The
off to you.
strange thing is obviously like I've had a few problems in recent years, and you've overtaken me in so many respects. But I get what you're saying completely, because yeah, at one point I was very energized and I was like completely like obsessed with becoming part of the writing world, with the Mickles and
Mm,
their
at
magazines and
Hemlock. Yeah.
the Dark Side with you know and Infinity, and also obviously We Belong Dead. I was really into that at a specific time, but then I get bored quickly is my trouble. And then once I'd achieved once I'd achieved what I'd achieved, it was like, well, what's next, So that's why I started to want to do my
Yeah.
own stuff then, which is that first book, which was originally meant to be a Hemlock horror companion,
Yeah.
but they stopped doing them. So I was like, found what am I going to do now? So I thought, let's bring it out on my own, and that's what I did.
Hmm.
Mm,
But it was actually kind of like something that Jane Mickle had said, yes, you can do this. Then it never worked out. But it was
but
a
you got
good
it out.
learning curve. It was a good learning curve for me because it taught me, well, a little bit of how to put a book together. And obviously I'm a lot better at that now, but at the time I was a bit of a floundering in the wind a little and
Yeah.
trying to work
Well,
out what's what. And
weirdly, I'm just so laid back that although I don't think you get involved in the stuff we do unless you generally think you can do it. But
mm,
I'm too laid back, and also I don't think I've known anybody ever involved in any of this stuff who's not got a touch of the old imposter syndrome,
Mm.
you
definitely.
know. And whatever the reason, me and Andrew just, although we didn't meet face to face for quite some time, there was just always we just hit it off
Yeah.
immediately, and
Yeah.
there's so
But then
much.
we've got a lot in common, and we, I mean, musically as well. I mean, I
Yeah,
like all kinds of music, but we both like ska, and
Mhm.
we both like
Stranglers.
music and punk and new wave and everything, really. I mean,
Yeah.
Mm,
a music fan shouldn't really segregate themselves from anything. Good
no,
music is good music, regardless what it is. It could be classical, it could be
Yeah.
folk, it could be pop, it could be metal. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't
yeah,
matter. I
Yeah.
quite happily listen to like death metal bands as well as listen to Kate Bush. It just didn't make no difference to me. If I
Yeah.
like the song, I like the song. That's as simple as
I think
that.
it depends on your mood as well with music, doesn't it? Like I like
Yeah,
loads of different
yeah.
music. I don't think I like any modern music, but I listen to
I
like all
do.
kinds of
Well,
stuff.
the
I
problem
like.
with the problem with the term modern music is that modern music is just what TikTok or whatever
Mm.
or Spotify
Yeah.
Yeah.
tells you is there, whereas most independent stuff is just driven further and further underground.
Yeah. Do you know what we've been
Yeah.
watching? Is that on an evening we'll put on like old episodes of Top of the Pops on YouTube. So
Yes,
much
yeah.
fun. We've been listening to some 90s ones. We've had like Spice Girls and
Yeah.
like bands that I've completely forgotten about, but I was like, oh, I remember them. I love that song. Lots of one-hit
Mm.
wonders who, you loved the song at the time and then they disappeared into oblivion. But
And potentially the best album of the mid-90s, Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, Different Class by Pulp.
Oh, no doubt about it.
I
No
quite
doubt
like
about
Pulp.
it.
I only know like the songs that were singles,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
yeah, I did quite
the
like that.
best pop single for me ever is Something Changed,
Oh,
right?
beautiful, beautiful.
Because it's a song about serendipity. It's about how you can meet somebody by just turning a different corner in the street, and you just
Yeah,
that person might never be in your life ever. And what would you have done if
Mhm.
you hadn't met them and all that? It's one of
yeah,
Jarvis Cocker's greatest achievements in terms lyrically and musically.
wonderful.
It's a beautiful
Yeah,
track. I mean, obviously, Common People is the big song on that. It's also
Yeah.
Disco 2000 is another great track, and there's so many other good songs like Live Bed Show and I Spy on that album. I love that album so much. But
yeah,
something changed. That's the track for me. That's the
100%
best
agree.
version.
There you go. You see, we always
Yeah.
agree. We
You do.
mainly agree.
You do. Right, guys. Well, we're gonna have to have a little break now. So I'm gonna see you
Yeah.
back here shortly in part two. Welcome back to the Scream Princess podcast. Welcome back, everybody. What did you guys get up to in your break?
I went and filled up my glass with more water because it's a bit early for the hard stuff.
Uh,
I
And
just,
I've
I
just been
just,
looking. Look, I've just got this in the post, the latest British Library
yeah,
Tales of the Weird. Love
very
that
good
series.
ones. I just sat here and waited.
You just sat there and waited. I went and did my dishes. I used my
Oh,
time
I've
wisely.
Wow.
done them. I've done them.
Otherwise, I'm sat here for 10 minutes and the 10 minutes seems to take so long. And I keep clicking Zoom and it's like, you have to wait 2 more minutes. And it's like, ugh. So, no, I went and did the
Yeah.
dishes. Went and did the dishes and cuddled one of the cats. They
Um,
usually actually come here and bother me when I'm doing this. They stay asleep all day until I'm doing a podcast, but they're
that's
actually being
all right.
good. You've got a little cat.
Yeah.
Nice to meet
We've got we've got two dogs. I've had to put them in a crate.
You've got two dogs and you've
They
got a
get
dog.
nothing done.
I always had dogs. I was always a dog person. I hadn't had like a cat in my grown-up life until now. Now I've got two. But the gardener actually brought her dog over. So there was a builder and a gardener both here doing the garden, and she did bring her dog around earlier. So I got to play with it for a little bit this morning.
Do you want to see the mannequin quickly?
Yes, you've got to tell me the story of this mannequin because I there was a picture of you just kind of holding this mannequin and like you'd
I
moved
know.
into this place with this mannequin. I'm like, what's going on here?
Well, what it was that many years ago I was in a band called Replaced by Robots, and I wanted a
Brilliant.
stage prop. I wanted a stage prop, so I bought a mannequin off a girl who had two mannequins in a tattoo parlor, and I took it home. I sprayed it silver. I chucked a red wig on it, gave it a sexy dress, and I called her Donna Matrix, right?
Right.
So I had so much stuff to carry in this band. It was insane. I had like three synthesizers, stands, I was always the last one to leave. So much to carry back and forth the car. But anyway, one night I was at a gig and with another band and my amp blew. So I was singer's father said, I'll give you a Laney amplifier. And I said, well, why don't you just have the mannequin? Because the band had finished at that point. So he took it and he repurposed it and made it look the way she does now.
Right.
And he renamed her Maud. And then when his name was Will Tennant, he was the father of the singer in the band, and he died of cancer a few years ago. And when he died, his son Mitchell said, "Do you want the mannequin back?" I said, "Yeah, of course it's my mannequin, really, but you know." He made it look the way it does now, which is completely different to how it used to look. And I just thought, yeah, I'm gonna have the mannequin back. And the guy came the other day to to look at some stuff out the back. I was thinking about having the holly tree trimmed, and he walked in and he saw the mannequin, and he was just like, "What the fuck is going on here?" You
So
know,
what
it's
are you going to do with her?
horrible.
Are you going to redecorate her again or
No, no, no. I'll never change the way she looks because
stay
that's a
like that now?
testament. Will was a friend of mine. He
Right.
was a lovely fella. That's how we wanted her to look. Do you want me to show? She's even got, watch this now.
There she is.
She got nipples. Can you see them?
Nipples. Do you know, I did a movie
Yeah.
on a mannequin farm, and that sounds weird, but it's basically a lady had gotten all these mannequins, like thousands and thousands and thousands of mannequins.
Yeah.
And like to save them going to landfill, she started this company. She had a farm. So she's piled them all up on the farm, but she repurposes them and like,
Mm,
renovates them or whatever you call it and gets
yeah.
them, reused. And so there is actually one huge heap of mannequin parts. Like it's a massive, massive heap. It's like, imagine a rubbish tip, like the kind of heap you'd get,
Mm.
but it's just mannequin parts. But then inside there's loads and loads of mannequins. And myself and one of the other girls, actually, we did bring some legs home and we both decorated them. Mine are now currently in the loft. I Wizard of Oz my legs. I painted them green, put stripy socks on, did some
I
like
have to
red.
mention one thing here.
Go
Have
on.
you ever seen the Italian giallo film Spasmo?
No.
Yes. Yes.
They've got mannequins in it.
Oh yeah.
Yes, hanging
Yeah.
off trees, and
Yeah.
he's got it there. Look at
Well,
him
I don't
going
know
to
if
get
this
it.
film's ever going to see the light of the day. It was called Mannequin, but no, not a
I
remake of the
hope it
Kim
does.
Cattrall one.
Hmm.
Oh, you've got the
Oh,
film.
no. What was that?
Mm.
That was called Mannequin, was it? Was
The
that the
Kim
one with
Cattrall one was called Mannequin, yeah. It was
yeah,
like an 80s like
yeah.
film. You know the kinds of films that were made in the 80s that if you made them now, people would be like, "What?" But in the 80s, just things like that kind of worked. Then no, I don't
I
know
know
if our
exactly
film's
what
ever
you're
going to be
talking
out,
about.
but we did both bring Mannequin legs home, and
Mm.
just currently in the loft there
Pretty,
because I don't know where to put it.
I don't have any
pretty
mannequin
thing.
parts,
No.
but I don't want to be left out.
What
So
have you
I just
got?
want to share with you a gift to my year 11 pupils, what they bought me. This is weird. It's a cheese board,
With Mr.
which is
Tate.
actually Mr. Taylor's cheese board.
Amazing.
No,
I don't have a cheese board with my name in it.
but the tragedy is there's no apostrophe. I did tell them there should
Mm.
be an apostrophe on that.
So were they geography students or English students?
English, I'm an English teacher, so but
Oh,
these great girls, but I don't know if I taught them anything about language or literature, but
oh
they did
no.
remember that they did remember that I like cheese. So
Ah, well, what's more
it shows
important,
I've
an
had
apostrophe or the love of cheese?
the cheese wins out.
Well, that's nice that they bought you a cheese board. That's actually quite sweet. That's thoughtful.
That's brilliant because I'm never going to get nobody, no teacher ever is going to get that present.
No.
That's unique. That's
That's
unique.
true. That's true. Do you find, because I know a lot of people in the horror world who actually are teachers. So like
Mm,
obviously it's hard in like the independent horror to like, make it a full-time job. So lots of people do
yeah.
have to have other jobs. And there are a lot of teachers. And I don't know whether it's they were teachers first and then they just decided like it drove them around the bend and they decided horror wasn't a way out.
Well,
Like, I don't know. It's a weird
no.
thing.
See, the thing is, I'm regularly disappointed with myself if I ever go up in my mum and dad's loft and I see my old school reports and stuff, and I realise that I've completely wasted any potential that I ever had. So I'd left school at 16, went to work doing loads of jobs I didn't want to do, and then I only went to university at 25 and
Right.
down in Brighton, and I was earning a bit of extra money by working for the Sea Life Centre, taking school parties round and
Mhm.
stuff like that, and constantly had teachers telling me you should teach, and so that's how I ended up teaching. But by then I'd got decades worth of sort of stage acting under my belt, and
Mm.
I just found that teaching was an extension of performing in front of an audience, really.
That's true. An audience
Yeah.
who have to sit there through it, whether they like it or not.
If they know what's good for them, absolutely,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, particularly with an English teacher and occasionally a drama teacher, there's a
Mm.
creative element to that, and there's a
Yeah.
performance element, and that pays the bills. And gives me the opportunity, particularly with school holidays, to sort of get the creative stuff done. Although one day I'll end up in one of your films when I can film a little bit during the summer holidays, because that's the only problem. I can't just
Right.
go off places and
So
do
you're
stuff.
telling me to make a movie during the summer holidays?
Listen, read that how you will. Read that how you will.
Maybe not this summer, maybe next summer. I've
Maybe.
got a script ready, well, sort of ready to go, but I need to do all the other stuff that goes hand in hand
Yeah.
with it. So maybe next year, maybe over the summer would be a good time.
Well, yeah, we're busy this year, aren't we, Andrew?
What are you doing
Very,
this
very
year?
busy. Very busy. Yeah, 2 books on the go soon. Yeah, we're going to
Two
start.
books.
Yeah, well, one's going to be BHF Volume 12. Is it 12 or 13? 12,
12, yeah.
12, which is going to be Dying Dead Undead, which is going to be a book of other people's work, but obviously we'll probably chuck our own stories in there as well,
Yeah.
which will be all about basically tales of the dead, ghouls, necrophiliacs, grave robbers, zombies,
Zombies,
vampires, mummies,
anything.
anything to do with death,
Amazing.
basically.
So
So that's
So
we
I think
so
we're
your
co-edited that.
books, they tend to be kind of like you pull together like collections of short stories from different writers, basically.
Yeah, that's one of the previous ones.
Horror stories.
Um,
Is that particularly Christmas horror or is it just horror?
that one was. That one
That was
was. We
Christmas
usually have a
horror.
theme, but the first two collections were put together by a guy called, was it Christopher Wood?
yeah,
Yeah, and then it was resurrected by Daryl Buxton a few years
yeah.
ago, and when he took over editing We Belong Dead magazine, he basically bequeathed it to me and Andrew. He asked us if we'd carry it on, so we jumped at it.
Because he'd seen this particular book.
I have a copy.
Hey,
I haven't read it yet,
Yeah.
but I have a copy.
Um, oh, go on, read it.
I will read it.
And
you've had that for
anyway,
2 years.
I know, but I was
now,
moving house and I was all over the place. It's in a box
but
somewhere. I'll dig it
the
out.
fact the
It's all
fact
right. You
was
helped us promote it.
I did.
he actually proofreaded this for us.
Right.
But when he'd seen the finished product, he realized that I was perfectly capable of designing and carrying it forward. So obviously Ian helps me to proofread. We proofread together. We send stuff back and forth.
Hmm.
But presently, because Ian hasn't yet learned the technical know-how, there's no reason for that. It just hasn't happened. I tend to do all the kind of like the formatting and the technical stuff,
Right.
which I don't mind doing. But this is the first one, and it's been a long time now because the last couple of years, well, let's say the last 18 months have been very difficult for me, and I've kind of like I've lost my way a little bit, but I'm back now. It's I have various personal issues, but luckily it's all resolved. I'm living a new life, and I'm ready to do it again. Very, very focused. So the idea now is to get volume 12 of this out,
Right.
and the sequel to this, which is going to be called Playground After Dark, um,
Nice.
which is going to be again 13 more stories.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Some old, some new. Me and Ian are going to both write two brand new novellas of at least 15,000 words,
Hmm.
and then sprinkle it with other stuff that's appeared elsewhere.
What is the
Just
difference
to
between a novel and a novella? Explain this to
well,
me.
a
It's the number of
novella,
words.
a novel is obviously 80,000 words or more,
Mm.
and I
Right.
think a novella is meant to be 17,500. But I'm not gonna. I get bored quickly, so there's no way I'm ever going to write a story that's going to be longer than 15,000 words. That's just me. Ian can do it.
It that
He-
might be then, because there's a novelette as well. So you've
Ah,
got short story,
Well,
novelette, novella,
well,
and novel.
as long as people enjoy reading it, does it matter?
Yeah,
That's the way I look at it. But it's nice to just get all your ideas into one book.
mhm.
Um,
but
I just wanted to collect things together so I could have a record of what I've done
Hmm.
that's
and
complete between the two books. But obviously
Yeah.
then, as time goes on, there'll be more stuff that gets written, and then you'll have to do a third one.
And you
funnily
both
enough,
also write
because
for magazines, so you both write for
yeah,
We Belong Dead,
Well, I
well,
don't. I don't write film essays anymore.
right?
I did quite a lot at one time, didn't I, Ian?
Mm.
Um,
you did
I was
indeed, and
I
then
was doing
uh,
loads, but I kind of, for me, I eventually found that it was a bit pointless. Not pointless, but I felt, why can't I just start writing my own thoughts down and start
Mhm.
writing my own stories? So I just gave it a go, and it kind of worked out. I've written some pretty sick and horrific stories that disturbed people. The
well
first
we
story I wrote was
sorry.
Hamburger Lady, which was based on the BHF 4 and 5, which all the stories are meant to be about, taken from music songs. So, like, two stories in that book are Martha My Dear, which is a Beatles track, and Hamburger Lady, which is by Psychic TV, I believe, right? Which is an old cult, really insane band from 70s and
Yep,
80s.
yep.
So that was a limit, and I just thought, well, how can I make this story as sick as the song sounds?
Mm.
I think I succeeded with that one. And then
But
obviously then you just
you
progressed, and you.
yeah, we were because we got on very well. We were always talking about maybe trying to collaborate on something.
Mm.
Mm.
Um, and then Andrew dropped out of writing the film reference stuff, so it was never going to be that. But eventually, then the fiction came along, and I've always been keen on trying to write that as well. And Andrew mentioned that he wanted to do that, and that's how Spoken in Whispers came about. But the last story in it, which is one of mine, is a novella. And you're
Mhm.
asking about how they come about. And the weird thing is, I always thought I would struggle in writing something the size of a novel.
Mm.
I felt it would always be short stories. And then when I started writing this final story called Billy Moon, which was, although names have been changed and some things have been enhanced, it's a lot of it is autobiographical.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I started writing it, and we're constantly in contact all the time, sharing stuff, sharing thoughts, sharing writing, talking about things, planning. And I kept sharing bits and talking to him about it and saying it was a very tough write, very therapeutic,
Mm.
but there's a lot of stuff that kind of was dragging me under a little bit, but I felt I had to keep going at it. And it just went on and on. And I
Mm.
was saying to Andrew, this can't go in the book. It's going to be too long. I can't. It's just I don't know where it's coming from. It's just all coming out. And he said, no, that's got to go in.
Yeah. I
And
always think that
it
when I'm reading a book,
oh
like obviously there's so much description and stuff in, in a novel that, that the writers obviously there's so many words, it's so many pages, it's a lot. I always think, God, that must be so difficult to write a book. Like writing a film script, it's 90 pages and
yeah.
it's done. It's not that hard. And obviously when you look at what's on a page, it's actually not that many words. It's like, a bit of description and some dialogue. So that's like easy, but it's just such a different technique, I guess.
Well, I almost
Here's
think there's a
illustration. Here's
danger
illustration
in.
quickly. Yeah, here's illustration for Billy Moon.
Was
Oh
that
yeah,
How,
Celine?
yeah.
Did she draw that?
She did.
yeah.
She did.
How
That's
freaky is that?
Yeah, it's
but
great.
there's a danger of I think overthinking it and thinking, well, if it's going to be a novella, if it's going to be longer, you need a lot more stuff. And in
Mm,
actual
Yeah.
fact, I only had the same simple guidelines that I would have had if it was going to be a short story.
mm,
And it just sometimes when the story is there to tell, it just happens really,
yeah.
One of
and
my new
particularly in
stories
that
now.
case.
I
One of my
suppose
new
with the
stories, right?
planning.
One of my new stories, right? Which exactly the same as what, just to reflect what Ian just said. My the story I'm working on right now, which is called Eyes Like Black Obsidian, is a vampire story, but again, it's a cathartic experience because what I so much of it is my father's life,
Hmm.
and he's got dementia, and there's two characters in it called Susie and Malcolm Charlton, and Malcolm is basically my father, and all the things that he says and does in the
Hmm.
story are things my father has said and done that I've experienced. So really, I'm kind of working that out my system by putting into the story,
Mm.
and it was a difficult thing because I wrote about 6,000 words of this about a year ago, and I accidentally deleted them,
Oh God.
and it was devastating, and it really put me off a little bit. But
Horrible when that happened.
Yeah.
I'm glad to say, right, I think it was a good thing because the version I got now is better.
Mm.
I didn't forget any of the it was amazing how much I remembered what I'd written. I
Mm.
Mm.
managed to get all the plot elements, and everything was still there in my mind because I thought about it so much that it
Yeah.
was just there. So when I went to rewrite it, it just all came flooding out in a couple of days. And I did like stupid amounts of writing in just 2 days, 3 days.
Mm.
Then I completely got right up to where I was before, right? Which had taken me probably weeks to do. And I did it in 3 days. And I got exactly the same stuff, all the
Mm.
same facts, all the same characters, all exactly the same. So I'm really happy about that because it did
Right.
upset me at the time. It
Mm.
was like, oh my God, I put all this work and thought into this, and I don't know what happened. I don't know
Have
if
you learned to back up your work now? Did you learn?
I always did before, but obviously on this
Yeah.
occasion,
Just
I haven't
just not that
connected.
one time.
I've
Yeah.
always got I've always got a USB stick. It always goes on there.
Hmm.
It's saved in two places constantly, always, and I even email stuff to myself as well.
Yeah.
So I know it's you just got to because it's devastating when you put
Yeah.
so much work into something and you just lose it.
But
And
Yeah.
then
it
it
did.
probably helped that then you had that time out where you
Mm,
needed to put it aside, and
yeah,
you've got all that time for it to be bubbling away,
Mm.
yeah,
and once you start writing when it's the right time again, that's what
yeah.
happens.
It's just
I
it's
just
just it's just flooding out me now, yeah, and it's just mad.
Yeah, I know.
I've written today. I've written a scene today where a woman gets bludgeoned to death with a hammer. That's how I wrote. Yeah, I wrote that really wrong. I also wrote another scene where a guy saws a body up in a basement with a really rusty and worn out saw. And as he's sawing through a body, there's a massive resistance because he hasn't cleaned the teeth of the saw properly. And there's fragments of bone and flesh and everything.
Well, this
So
You
sounds
yeah,
always
quite
need to do.
descriptive. But I find I can watch a
dissected
horror
it.
film really easily, and it's like 90 minutes of my life. I can watch the film at the end, like the killer's been caught or whatever happens, it's the end of it. But I always find reading a book harder because I like when I was growing up, I used to read like the Fear Streets and the Point Horrors, and I'd be
Mm,
scared, but you have to keep reading it, and it takes longer than
Mm.
90 minutes to read a book. So you're literally
of
like, I
course.
can't go to bed, and I'm going to have to read this for hours on
Well,
end until I've gotten to the
Yeah.
end. So I always find when like
this
books are
is
scary, it's a bit scary.
this is yeah. It's why our book is ideal for you because it's short stories and a novella.
Ah, so I can
So
get to the end of
you
them and
can
then I
stop.
can
You can stop.
can
Yeah,
sleep
now and again.
easy.
But yeah,
What I used
but
to do when I was reading books years ago, I used to just like James Herbert or Stephen King as a youngster.
Mm.
I just read them in bed when I was going to sleep, and I just read until I was too tired, and I just fold the page over, and that was it, and I continued the following night. I didn't worry too much about reading the
no,
whole thing and then go,
Mm.
just do it in like episodes like you would with a Netflix series or something like that.
Yeah.
And that
No, but
was
I like a binge watch as well. I like to wait till the series is over and then I can binge watch it
mm,
in a weekend or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
mm.
Although everyone's
But
different.
it's been good. I've waited until Andrew's been ready. Happily waited in the wings. I've been able to get on with still writing for the film reference
Mm.
books and magazines,
Mm.
and of course the radio show I do every weekend as well. It's just kept me busy. But now he's started and he's off. So I know that as soon as I get to my school summer holidays in just about 5 weeks or so,
You're going to be busy.
I it's going to be a deep dive, and I'm really looking forward to it because
Yeah.
I think when you're writing fiction, you really do feel that you've got a writing muscle which just needs the exercise, and once
Hmm.
you're doing it on a regular basis, it
Happy.
just boom, 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 it just comes out. So
So
really
tell me about
looking
the
forward to
radio show as well. I've been on
it.
it. I've been on the radio.
Right, yeah, I've played your
You
songs on
have.
there.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure if that makes you more or less famous.
I don't know. Oh, you play. I had a few in a row, didn't I? You did a day
You
where you played
did.
a few of them,
Yeah,
which
well,
was
it's a
fun.
local community radio station, Radio M29, based on the Manchester postcode,
But you can
and
listen to it online
it's
as well.
online. It's yeah. There's a problem with getting on the old. I don't know the technical stuff, but we can't get on DAB radio or anything because of where we are. We're in
Right.
the middle of sort of Wigan and Bolton, and nobody wants to own us. So that's the difficulty. But there's an app, there's an app you can get on Play Store or whatever,
Mhm.
and boom, there you go. And the show's called Sounds from the Streets, and it's an eclectic mix, but mainly indie, bit of punk, bit of mod, bit of ska, bit of soul, bit of whatever genre you would class yourself as, Danny.
I
I
don't
don't know,
know.
but I
What would
thought
you class my stuff as?
You
as
are, I
eclectic,
would say, you're like dark electronica.
Right.
That's
yeah,
what
but
I've heard the CD. I've got it in the car, and
Yes.
that's what it's very electronic because it's just it's very much in a kind of almost like a Depeche Mode kind of
Right.
vibe, almost.
but
Not
then
really, but that's I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, it's definitely like
Yeah, I
that.
don't know how I'd explain it. I think
but
it's
then
my
you did the
producer's very electronic, so that's like
Mm,
his like influence. I
you
think
yeah.
my
did the
favorite though
Christmas,
was my favorite. Well, the Christmas stuff that's with the girls, so that's like
Oh
yeah,
separate.
yeah, yeah.
So
yeah,
You
yeah,
do
the
have
trick or treat, the Halloween song and the Christmas song, that's like separate. And that's like
mm,
that was basically because I wanted ages ago to pull a few like horror actresses, scream queens together and do a little like one-off Halloween song like for a band called Pumpkin
yeah,
Spice. It would be like the Spice Girls. But then ended up with lockdown, ended up me making friends with like Megan and Cheryl, and Megan's a great songwriter. And we were like, well, I said, why don't do you two want to do it? And we'll do it just the three of us. And we ended up doing Trick or
mm.
Treat. And then last year we did the Christmas one, which was meant to be ages ago, but for various reasons we never ended up
and
managing to record it.
it was
So
just a perfect sort of Christmas pop song.
it is a really fun
Yeah,
Christmas song. We had fun doing the video. We ended up having a big Christmas dinner together.
that's nice.
So
Yes.
yeah, it was lovely. Last Christmas, which will
Yeah,
be
but
here again before we know it, because how quickly
it
is this
will.
year going?
Yeah,
Last
yeah, I
Christmas,
know.
last Christmas, I gave you my heart, but the very next day, your body went into convulsions because you didn't accept the organ and you died suddenly
Yeah, yeah,
in
it
intensive
all
care.
went wrong.
Horribly.
But I do
Oh,
like on that show playing sort of all the bands I grew up loving, but as well just being able to play stuff by friends. Like it's great
yeah,
to be able to play your stuff. I played some of Andrews. He mentioned Replaced by Robots earlier. I absolutely love the stuff that he did with that band, and I
right.
played those a lot. And it's good to spread the word because these
Fast
days,
Cars is Fast Cars one of your favourites, isn't it?
oh yeah,
Fast
well,
Cars.
they
You love Fast
literally
Cars.
the bass player lives around the corner from me, so he like,
Mm.
you
Very
know,
good.
he walks
Yeah.
his dog wearing a Radio N29 baseball cap.
How
You know,
Nice.
amazing. I don't
Nice.
have a baseball cap.
you can have a base. I'll get you a baseball cap.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
I don't have a dog to walk, but I do walk. So
Well,
I
you don't
wear
have
it.
to have a dog. You can
Don't
wear the
have
cap
to.
without walking the dog.
Yeah,
That's fine. Fine.
yeah. I do still walk. I feel like I haven't been for a walk for ages. We've had like constant rain. It's actually been sunny today, the last couple of days, but then I've had people working here, so I haven't been able to go out anywhere. So tomorrow I might hit the beach if it's sunny.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, we're going. Our summer holiday this year is on the Yorkshire coast, so I don't know what to expect. But
Where about you
I
going to like Bridlington or
no, it's a cottage we keep going back to in a place called Rosedale Abbey, which is not too far away from Pickering.
never
So,
heard of it?
well, I'll tell you, you can get to quite easily places like Bridlington, Scarborough,
Mm,
Whitby, Robin Hood Bay,
yeah.
and I love all that. And I think it's just as impressive. That coastline there is just as good when the weather's shocking as when it's
Mm,
good. Yeah, I love it.
yeah.
There's a bleak sort of beauty about it, isn't there? I mean, it's
Mm,
a strange
Well, I
thing to
think
say, but
especially Whitby with its like Dracula connections,
yeah.
if it's cold, it's kind of gives you that like spooky vibe with the Abbey and what have you.
yeah.
And the weird thing about that is we always go to Whitby, and there's a particular fish and chip restaurant we always go in as a family, And
Right.
I then learned from Dacre Stoker that used to be Whitby Library, and that's where Bram Stoker got some of his inspiration from.
Which
So
one
I've
is
been
it
being
that you go to?
it. Do you know what? I cannot remember the name. It's not the one that everybody bangs on about.
No, I went
Um,
to a different one because when
yeah,
one of the times I went, I looked up where did like a vegan fish and chips, and that it wasn't the one everyone goes on about. It's quite a big building.
yeah. This
Um,
might be it then.
it might be. It might
But I've
be.
not been for 2 or 3. I've not been there for 2 or 3 years, so I can't remember. But
Right.
I will feed back once I've gone this summer.
Hmm.
Looking forward to it.
I like going to the little Dracula exhibition thing. Like even though it's really rubbish,
It's rubbish.
I just feel like you have to go. It's yeah,
Well,
it's
somebody has to.
yeah, I know. Where is it £6 to get in now? It was £4 the first time I went. Last time I went, I think it was £6 to get in. But you're like, you know what? For half an
Yeah.
hour, it's a bit of fun.
Well, first time I took Tilly in there, she was terrified. I can imagine this year she'll like look at me and go, "You must be joking."
Yes, probably.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll
Have you
see.
seen the posts of the old waxworks in Great Yarmouth from the
Yeah,
80s?
Yeah. The
yeah.
Kylie Minogue one. They were up for sale because I think the place closed and they did have them up for sale. And I think Kylie Minogue was going for like a couple of £100. And I mean, looked nothing like Kylie Minogue. But
You know,
No.
you'd need a sign. You'd need a sign to
yeah,
hang
Some
around
of
its
them,
neck so
the
people would know who
occasional
it was.
one was okay. The occasional one was okay. But then
yeah.
most of them are just completely
I
Mm,
never
dreadful.
went to it,
Most of
even when I
them
lived there, I never went to the Wax Museum.
mm.
I played some of the crazy golf in Great Yarmouth
Yeah,
and, been to the
yeah.
fair. But yeah,
Yeah.
never made it to the Wax Museum.
The worst ghost train in Britain is on Yarmouth Pier.
Is it? I've
It's
been on some
Oh, yeah.
pretty bad
absolutely
ones where just nothing
dreadful.
happens.
It looks great. It looks great from the outside, but inside it's just
Yeah,
nonsense. It's
inside.
just
I
nothing
know
going on.
the roller coaster is like the original roller coaster from like the 1950s or something. It's like super
Yeah,
old. So you're kind of,
yeah,
even though it's not particularly scary roller coaster, you're kind of taking your life in your hands because it's just so old.
you
I
are.
mean, there's no loops
Yeah.
or
That
anything, but
that sounds like there was one at Blackpool. I don't know if it's there anymore, and that was all. It was like a little roller coaster,
hmm.
but on a wooden frame, and it
Yeah,
just
that's exactly it. It's on a wooden frame.
really, really felt dangerous.
Yeah.
I tell you,
Yeah, I
you could
don't know if
take
I'd
me.
go on it now,
Uh,
but like 20 years ago when we went,
yeah,
when I was
Do,
when I
do you
was at
it,
remember?
college, I did.
Do you remember a ride in Blackpool called the Grand National, which was horses on a
yeah,
rail?
yeah.
That
That
used to
might be
trip
it.
me.
That
That
might be
used to
it,
trip
mate.
me out. It
Yeah,
was so high up, right, and you were so exposed. There
yeah,
was nothing to protect you. You just holding on to it, and you're like
yeah,
so high up in the air, and there's all these little slopes and things like that. And you really thought I could die here. I could fall off this and
Yeah.
get
yeah,
killed.
yeah, yeah.
I really love a
Real.
I love a seaside town. I think seaside towns would are really good settings for like creepy stories as well. I think I've read books,
Yeah.
like
Mm.
maybe a point horror book, and I think there was a Richard Lehman book that was set around a fun fair or
Mm,
something maybe. But I think they are
Mm.
good settings. And I live in a seaside town and we've got a fun fair. But I will tell you that the the pirate ships, which I never thought were particularly scary. And I went on the one here last year and we sat at the back. And when it goes up, I
yeah.
literally felt like I was going to fall out and die. It was horrific. I'm never going
Well,
again.
the
I'll stick
further
to the
Tilly
back you
loves
are,
Hollywood.
them.
the worse it's going to be. The further back you are, the worse it's going to be because you're going to get
Yeah.
the bigger of the swing, aren't you?
It
You
was
know.
awful. It was
Yeah.
horrible. I was like
But my
holding on for dear
daughter
life. I was
loves
like, let
those.
me off.
Yeah.
But they didn't
She
let me
loves
off.
them. We went to Southport, and my daughter went on, and I did one. I went on once with her, and I said, "That's enough for me." And she went on about 5 or 6 times, one after
Mm.
the other. I,
When you're
I
young
know what you
though,
mean.
you do. Like when I was young, I'd go on stuff more than I would now. Like now I like the waltzers. I like sitting in that little cup thing, spinning around. That was enough for
Well,
me.
again at Southport, the one there, the waltzer, is now computer controlled, so you've not got a man just spinning you around and then stopping you if you've had enough. It's programmed.
Is
And
it?
she didn't like that. She didn't like that. She was crying because, and I thought we are going to die here.
Oh,
It
I
was
like
like
it when
something
it
out.
spins
Yeah.
a lot. I'm okay
It
with the
was like
spin.
something out of Final Destination.
Oh, I
It
like the
was
idea of this though. I'd like to go on a spinning one, but I can see
Southport.
why they would do it electronically because those men, like, they must get injured. They must all have like a horror
Yeah,
story of where they've like been bashed by one of those cars.
yeah. And now it's
Yeah.
now it's just the punters.
Yeah, yeah.
I actually
Yeah,
vomited up 2 hot dogs after being on the waltzers once in
Some people
Porthcawl.
can deal with spinning rides and some can't.
You know,
I'm
yeah.
okay with
I think being older,
spinning.
as I get older, I'm finding that motion sickness is becoming a much more prevalent problem for me.
Do you? I
Yeah,
can't read when I'm in a car, but otherwise I'm okay.
it used to be great on rides, but I couldn't even entertain it now. I know I'd be ill.
I think
You
watching
know,
things like Final Destination kind of puts you off the roller
Doesn't
coaster.
help. It doesn't help.
It
I,
doesn't
I
help.
can't pass.
It
I
put me
can't
off
pass.
sunbeds actually, and that's not a bad thing. But I
I
think after
can't pass a
watching,
lorry. I can't pass a lorry that's carrying logs.
no, I don't know anyone who
No,
can logs or poles or anything. I will pass it. I won't drive behind it. I'll be like, get around that as quickly as you
really fast.
can.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know anyone who can. We just went and watched the latest one actually at the cinema. Really good.
Is it good?
Yeah, really. It
Yeah,
doesn't really give you, well, I mean, it kind of does. It's a slightly different. It's a slightly different take on it. I mean, it's still like, the deaths in order of,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's a slightly different take as to why it's happening. But it did obviously gave like it was a goodbye to Tony Todd as well. So they
Yeah,
obviously
bless him.
knew
Yeah, yeah,
that he wasn't going to be able to do anymore. And he kind of, I think they'd said to him, like, say some words that are yours, like unscripted, like give it like like a parting gift, and he did, and it was
yeah.
in film. So that was quite,
Lovely.
sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, we really enjoyed it.
Talking of Great Yarmouth, I'm going to be on a panel there in a couple of weeks about Tony Tenser's films. You
Okay.
know, John Hamilton, the guy who wrote Beast in the Cellar, about all of the Tygon British films, which
Yeah.
find a general Blood on Satan's Claw and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
He's involved in it, and they're showing 3 films because Tony Tenser went and retired in Southport, and before that, he shot a film called The Haunted House of Horror in a big old hotel in Southport, and he tried to turn it into a studio, and he didn't manage.
That would
But
be
but
cool.
they're putting it
Is
on
that the
there.
film with Mark Winter?
Is that what? Sorry.
Is it the film with Mark Winter?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I think David McGillivray is going as well. He's going to be on it. So
Lovely. Well, guys, we
Yeah.
are out of time. We have been
Yeah.
chatting away. So if you send me the links to where people can get your books, and the things that you've got coming up, then I'll pop them all on at the end. So send them over to me. Thank you so
amazing.
much for coming on.
Thank you. It's
Thank
been
you,
great.
Danny.
It's
Been
flown
a
by.
pleasure.
It
Really,
will flow.
been a pleasure. We enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd be shitting myself, but no, it's
I'm
been
not that
okay.
scary. I
No,
No,
don't
I
think.
don't
and
mean that. When you realize it's not actually live and it's just, you just shoot in the
but the
breeze and
bonus the bonus is as well, mate. You can do that, and nobody will be able to smell it because we're all in different places.
Also true.
anyway, I'll be in touch, okay?
Oh,
Yes, mate.
I'm going to see you in Manchester in October
Yes.
with a brand new book, okay?
Yes.
gonna say
Yeah, that's
hi.
right.
Oh,
Fantastic.
didn't like that. Off she
Yeah.
goes. She's off to the window. So I've got seagull babies on the roof. So the cats at the moment are obsessed with being in the window, just like
Oh,
shouting at the
God.
seagull babies.
Yeah.
The cats aren't allowed out, so the seagulls are fine.
I bet there must be bird shit everywhere then.
I live by the sea. It's to be expected.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know.
It happens.
Yeah, okay.